Hello again, Gooners. Oh, I've given up this one. It's now hello again, Gooners. Bakari Sagna, we want you to stay, or we don't care. I don't care personally. I really don't care. I mean, he's a good fullback, but so what? We can get another one. We've got Jenkinson. I've launched straight into this, haven't I? That wasn't the plan. The plan was it was going to be a Chu Young Park special. I was going to get the Chewbacca sounds. I'm going to have to do it myself, as now I can't wake my son up and ask him if I can borrow his Chewbacca, whatever it is. It's sort of like a book, and it makes sounds, and he sounds something like this. Oh no! Well, that's what it sounds like to me anyway. And I was going to use that, you know, for when I let the world know that Chu Young Park is no longer an Arsenal player. I know you're all sobbing into your cornflakes, soup, tea, whatever liquid you happen to have nearby. You may be shedding tears into it, but anyway, he's gone. He's history. Fabianski's not history just yet. We've offered him a new contract. Same goes for Sagna. They will, of course, refuse and move on. Fabianski, I don't think he's going to end up at Manchester City, but I shouldn't keep making Fabianski jokes, because after all, his heroics got us into the cup final. All right, his less than heroic performance in the final nearly cost us the cup, but that's another story, and I've been there and done it. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do today. I'm going to actually tell you about some transfer news. I know you're on tenterhooks. You know, tenterhooks is a funny word, because I used to think it was tender hooks, but that's the sort of thing you get in the butchers. Terrible joke, but I mean, I actually really genuinely used to think that. Anyway, I'm going to tell you about Wenger is lining up a shock transfer target to replace City-bound Sagna. Hence the T-shirt, which doesn't say Sagna, but says something similar. So it's one of those where you can sort of adjust it, and it could spell Sagna if you've got a really good imagination. Anyway, do I think this deal is going to happen? No, not at all, because the person in question is none other than James Milner. And although it is a very popular story, there's about as much chance of that happening as, well, let me think of something really, no, I can't think of a very interesting analogy. There's about as much chance of that happening as Tottenham finishing above Arsenal next season. Could happen, I suppose. Maybe I should think of something even more unlikely. But anyway, I don't think Spurs will finish above Arsenal next season, but it depends on who they bring in as a manager. We have to think, though, we can't take this lightly. We can't think just because we're Arsenal we're going to finish fourth in the league and be the second best club in London in terms of league position. We can't rest on our laurels, and that is why I picked up this newspaper. It's a little bit old. It's not that old. It's only a day old. Look in here. It tells you all you need to know about Arsenal. Not there. That says hello and bye-bye. That's not what I'm talking about. And that neither, because that says win a house trip for 4 to Lisbon. I don't want to go to Lisbon, do you? Anyway, Suarez, that's a player we should have bought. So that irritated me straight away. Every time I see Suarez, well, because I think he's such a great player, it irritates me. And on the same page, it's like they do this deliberately. Cash pledge for Wenger. Arsenal director Lord Harris of Peckham, who I do have a lot of time for because he does a lot of good work in the community, I understand. Lord Harris says that Wenger will get the money he needs to turn the club into champions. And obviously, we've been hearing this for quite a long time, but not normally from Lord Harris. So I'm taking this a little bit more seriously, especially as Lord Harris putting the pressure down, throwing the gauntlet down, should I say. We want to win the Premier League and the Champions League. That's ambition. I like it. If we buy 2 or 3 players, I think we can. Well, 2 or 3. Is it going to be enough? Fabianski's leaving, so that's 1 replacement needed. Sagna's leaving, 2 replacements needed. So if we buy 1, effectively, we've got a very slightly better squad. Obviously, the player I'd most like us to buy says Fabregas, but that's for sentimental reasons. Would he actually be a good signing for us? Debatable. Obviously, I feel he would do a better job than Mikel Arteta, mainly because he's younger. Arteta's, and he's obviously, I think Arteta's as good a passer of the ball that he is. He's not as good as Cesc. So yeah, I'd love to see Cesc back. Whether he'd fit in alongside Aaron Ramsey as well as Arteta, that's another story, because it is about balance, and Arteta does offer a lot of experience. He calms things down, and you know, that's probably one of the reasons why we have got silverware at last, because we've got we've got some experience to rely upon when things start going awry, let's say. So we're getting all serious now, talking about cups. Right, anyway, where was I? Yeah, look, you've got interesting stuff in this. I should work for the Standard, the amount of publicity I give them. But anyway, the Arsenal board game, look at this. It's got Sir Chips Keswick. It's not Keswick, is it? It's like Chiswick. That's how I see it. Anyway, he replaced Peter Hillwood as chairman, June 2013. You know all of this. Why am I telling you? Well, it just goes to show that all these guys are ready to back Arsene with millions. We don't know how much. And we still don't know how much, even after reading this article, because Lord Harris says, there is a lot of paper talk. He probably doesn't talk like that. He said, I wouldn't say the total transfer budget, which is in square brackets, which means he didn't actually say that. He was answering the question, what's your total transfer budget? And he replies, I wouldn't say it is 100 million. I wouldn't say it's 50 million. And I wouldn't say it's 150 million. Well, if you want a price, put a price on it, then this is not the guy to speak to, obviously. But he did say this, so give him credit. If Arsene has asked for any player, then we have backed him to go and buy, with the exception of Messi, Ronaldo or Bale. We could buy most players. Well, we couldn't buy this guy on the back page. I've just shown you, but I'll show you again just to irritate me once more. There he is, look. That is what we couldn't buy. Why didn't we just spend a bit more money and force Liverpool's hand? Anyway, what other interesting things did I find? This made me laugh a little bit. About Yaya Touré's bizarre birthday cake row at Manchester City, and why Lord Harris said he wants to leave Yaya Touré. He wants to leave now because he doesn't feel it's a happy club, even though they've won the league. And you know, maybe there is something in it. I know I'm laughing, but maybe there is actually something to that, because I'm laughing, but the team spirit is important, and Arsenal got that in abundance. Unfortunately, we don't have that many players, and well, the same guy, Lord Harris, has also said that he's put our sort of failure to deliver a league championship, he's put that down to injuries. And he said, when you get three of your best players, Aaron Ramsey, Theo Walcott and Lauren Koscielny, injured in 1 week, then it's a lot to ask. We had too many injuries in the middle of the season, otherwise we'd have won the championship. Well, I don't think it's as straightforward as that. It's nice to blame injuries, but every club gets injuries. It's true we get more injuries than most clubs. That is true. Perhaps it's the way we play football. I don't think we're a dirty team by any stretch of the imagination, so that clearly doesn't help. We've got classy players like Mesut Ozil. Will I ever say his name right? Ozil. Not Ozil, like they say on Sky Sports sometimes. It's Ozil, right? Or something like that. Anyway, because he's got an O with an umlaut, is it? Anyone that can speak German, do let me know about that. But anyway, we've got classy players. Classy players tend to get chopped down a lot by the Ryan Shaw crosses of this world. And I did see an article about him today that is going nowhere. But, well, the only thing about that, we'd probably like him to move abroad or something, so he doesn't keep hacking our players to bits. But anyway, what other stories were making the news? There was a story about Antoine Griezmann. He's being chased by us, according to the Daily Mail. Don't know a lot about that. Is it a possibility? Perhaps. There was another one made me laugh. Cazorla could be sold to make sure that we can bring Cesc Fabregas in. £35 million is the fee being talked about. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I'd love it to, as I said before, so I won't reiterate all of that. There was even talk we might sign Iniesta. I think that's seriously paper talk. I'm trying to find a story that I can actually believe, and I'm really struggling at the moment, especially as I've got to scroll down. And what can I talk about in the interim? Right, I'm scrolling through all these stories. This one tickles my fancy, you might say. This one is about Aurier. Sounds like a hair product. No, it isn't. We must tie up. This is what Bleacher Report saying. We must tie up Serge Aurier before the World Cup finals begin. Well, let's forget about that, because we never ever do our transfer business early. Well, I wouldn't say never, but very rarely. So the chances of us bringing in Toulouse's Serge Aurier is unlikely, because we'll wait until the price goes up, and then we'll wait for it to fall again. But before it falls right down to the very bottom, some other club will come in and we won't actually sign this player. But I've not really seen him in action an awful lot, so I can't really comment about whether or not it'd be a good Bakary Sagna replacement, or Bakary Sagna. I'm still working out which is the correct pronunciation of that. But Aurier will be involved in the World Cup for the Ivory Coast. He's made the squad ahead of Emmanuel Abui, which was interesting in itself. Pretty good article actually in Bleacher Report. What else have I got for you? Loic Remy has held talks with us and Liverpool over a summer move. That is according to the Evening Standard. And obviously he's under contract with QPR till 2017. If they get promotion, perhaps they won't want to let him go. But anyway, he's in France's World Cup squad, so he's another player that we need to make moves on quickly if we want to bring him in. And I think personally that would be a good signing. And then I saw some article about all the players that are going to benefit from being involved in the World Cup. One of them being, of course, Mesut Ozil has had what has been described as, at times, a disappointing season. I think that's quite accurate. I think at times he's been impressive, and he did obviously make a difference to the team initially, but he just needs time to bed in. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's actually true. So who else? Joel Campbell. He's going to be involved in the World Cup. He was on loan at Olympiacos, of course, and he had his work permit last summer. It was a bit of a mystery, really, why we allowed him to go off to Greece to play his football. So we'll have to watch Costa Rica with interest because of him and his involvement. And Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, obviously going to be playing for England, but not for us in the cup final, sadly for him. I'm trying to scroll to the next story. All these stories come from Bleacher Report, which I would recommend. And then I've got Park Chu-young. Oh no! Well, we've got Park Chu-young as well. He can rebuild his shattered reputation. The Korean striker leaving, obviously, I've already mentioned that. Quite a few others. Chuck's Aneke is leaving too, which has surprised a lot of people. He's a player with a fair bit of talent, but he's off somewhere on a free transfer. There's a lot of interest apparently from Fulham, so perhaps he'll drop down to the Championship to play for them. Jack Wilshere, obviously, is going to be involved in the World Cup. Let's hope he stays injury-free. And the other player that we need to really look at, according to this, is, well, shall I show you him? Because I can't recognise him. I think it's Joel Campbell, actually, there. I showed you so quickly, you're never going to get it, but that was my sneaky little trick. But anyway, yeah, so transfer news, a little bit thin on the ground, I suppose, you might say. Oh, here we go. I wanted to tell you this one. What was this about? About all these possible signings. This is about a player leaving, of course. Bakary Sagna has agreed a £140,000 a week 3-year deal with Manchester City and is going to sign a deal before the World Cup because that's how they do their business. And meanwhile, Mario Mandzukic has cleared his locker and is on the way to London. No one's really convinced about that particular story, though the Sagna one really does in fact sound likely. So what else can I say other than, well, I will in fact let you know. Oh, this story, I have to tell you this one, but again, it's a bit of an old story. Sorry about that. Gareth Barry is being linked with us once more. Everton also interested. There's no way that's going to happen. I'm sorry. I'd like it to, in a way, but I wouldn't want us to sign him on a long-term basis. Wait a second. I think I might have a little bit more for you because I didn't want to bother with bringing the standard in because I was getting ink on my hands, so I took pictures instead. Yeah, I know. I do amuse myself sometimes by doing silly things, but it's probably one of the most silly things that I've ever done. Other than believe, well, although I didn't believe when Peter Hill-Wood said that we had a gentleman's agreement with Barcelona that Fabregas wouldn't be going there. Of course, he went very shortly afterwards. Old fans have voiced their anger over prices at the Emirates. Lord Harris said, if you want better players, you've got to pay them more. Where's the money going to come from? And words to that effect. But we've had enough of Lord Harris, even though he's somebody good to have on the board, I think. I've not been a big fan of the board, but I'm quite a fan of this guy, from what I've heard about him. All is good about him, I think. This was an interesting story. It's not particularly Arsenal related, but this story about 1966 ruined our game in England. That's according to Glenn Hoddle. I know he's not the most popular man amongst Arsenal fans, but I have to say one thing about Glenn Hoddle, he's a very approachable guy, and talks a lot of sense as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I know it was very controversial when he had a faith healer with the England team. But I think if you believe in that sort of thing, sometimes it can work. I had a faith healer do some work on my knee. It seemed to improve, but maybe it's because I'm gullible. I really don't know. But certainly sports psychology involves hypnotism sometimes, and hypnotism can work to make certain players focus better. So it's not one of those things to just sort of sniff at and say there's nothing to it. Unless you've actually gone to a few sports psychology lectures, you won't really know whether or not it's true. The reason I know it's true is because somebody in my sports psychology lecture was being put under a trance, but because I was witnessing it, I was getting under the trance as well. So it certainly worked for me. And this same guy, he scored a hat-trick next time he played for our team. So yeah, the proof of the pudding is in the scoring goals. Okay, I've got to tell you this. This is in today's Standard. The Chuckle Brothers Award for To Me, To You, goal of the season goes to Jack Wilshere and Olivier Giroud for the goal against Norwich City. So, this is another story I wanted to tell you about. Greece, the word for cash-rich gunners. So that's another really good headline. Arsene Wenger could be about to splash the cash. The 100 million transfer war chest is about to be splashed on Real Sociedad winger Antoine Griezmann. Fresh from winning the FA Cup, Wenger is about to sign the contract extension, which he still hasn't done. We like to take our time at Arsenal. And, well, the rest of the story is pretty much, there isn't anything to it. £25 million being talked about. He's scored 20 goals. So did a certain Olivier Giroud. So there you go. Is he worth bringing in? Doesn't feel like it, does it? So perhaps that was the last one. Well, my phone's gone on the blink now, so I think it's about time I said away, and I'll be back when I have some real transfer news, or perhaps some more made up stuff. Until the next time. Away, away, away.